Welcome back to the Microgreen series where I teach you everything you need to know about growing your own food and how easy it is. In today's discussion, I wanted to go over 10 of our most top questions asked at farmers markets all about microgreens. And I'm telling you, we get repeat questions all the time. So that's why I compiled this Q&A just to answer your questions all about microgreens. So the very first question is pretty simple and straightforward. It is, what exactly is a microgreen? A microgreen is an edible seedling that is harvested after the very first true leaf has developed. So just like a sprout, it's right when it sprouts, it germinates, it wakes up the seed, it opens. That's when it is harvested. There's a perfect window of opportunity for harvesting because once it gets the second leaf, then it has a tendency to turn bitter and they don't taste as good. So that's developing into the adult sized vegetable of whatever it may be. So if it's broccoli, for example, you're eating it at that, like, let's say 10-day window period of harvesting before the second true leaf develops, because you're going to get the most flavor, the most nutrients, and it's just super delicious. Number two is, which microgreens are the easiest to grow? So we've experimented with multiple varieties, and I like to say it's just like wine. There is so many varieties, so it depends on the type that you like and what you're looking for, like what ailments you're looking to help. So the easiest ones to grow, I would say the radish. Radish is probably the easiest and the fastest. It doesn't take very much maintenance. A lot of the cruciferous family, which we'll get into, is easy to grow. So anything in the broccoli family is going to be very easy. I'm going to say radish, sunflower. Sunflower is a little tricky. I'm sorry. I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to say sunflower because I don't want to set anybody up for failure on this. But kale, bok choy, red cabbage, kohlrabi, anything in the broccoli family. So if you just Google cruciferous vegetables, those are going to be your easiest ones. And I would say radish is probably like my top ahead of any of those. Very low maintenance. Number three is, what supplies do I need to start growing microgreens? As I've said before in another video, I started off at the 99-cent store. Okay, no shame, no lie. I bought a tin foil like turkey roasted pan and used that as my container, potting mix, and just some seeds on Amazon. I know they sell microgreen seeds at Home Depot and such, or wherever, Armstrong's, all of those gardening stores, but you can order them online. I suggest, highly recommend that you get non-GMO seeds. That is very important. You don't want them sprayed with chemicals. You don't want them sprayed with glyphosate. I can't say that enough. You're going to need some trays. Of course, we've upgraded. We now get them from BOOTSTRAP Farmer. I do love their quality trays. They're pretty durable. They last over and over again, so you're not having to buy many supplies. Always start off small. That's why I went to the 99-cent store and got some, tins, got some aluminum tins. I wouldn't say that's the way to go, but that's how we started. Growing medium, which is another word for soil. So whenever you hear medium, that just means the type, because it's not even just soil. It's kind of like how they grew. You can use growing mats. You can use just water. There's hydroponics. There's aeroponics. There's just so many ways to grow vegetables. But a growing medium that we highly recommend is coconut coir. You're not going to find it at Home Depot. You're not even going to find it at like your typical gardening supply place, most likely. You will find it at a hydroponic store. So if you have any of those local hydroponic stores, you're going to find it there. You can always order on Amazon. Like I said, I'm going to attach links below. But coco coir, no fertilizer, no pesticide. So it's even better than potting mix. You're not going to get any added substances. It's not going to have like those little like pearly white specks in it. It's pure coconut. So coco coir is coconut's a great filter. So coco coir is made from coconut husk, which is a great growing medium because it holds the moisture, doesn't even smell. So if you're growing indoors, which I highly recommend for microgreens, that you're going to want to use something that doesn't stink, something that doesn't smell like dirt, coconut coir. And it's very soft and fluffy. I actually just love to put my hands in it and play with it. It's so fun. And it doesn't have a scent. So coco coir for my growing medium. These are all terms maybe you've heard before, maybe you haven't. Another ingredient is going to be filtered water is super important. You're not going to water your garden with tap water. That's a big no-no. Big no-no. I don't even think people realize that. They just get the hose and they start watering their garden. Well, we have a whole house water filtration system, which allows us to use the hose with filtered water. So filtered water is super important. It removes a lot of the chemicals like chlorine or fluoride, but it also leaves the good minerals. It doesn't strip away everything like reverse osmosis, where it strips away everything good. You have to put those essential minerals back into the water or have water that has that. And so our house water filtration system has that. And of course, a light source. Light source is easy, right? The sun. Life force energy is the sun. I can't say that enough. So you don't even need like a direct sun. It could be indirect sunlight, like a windowsill. It doesn't even have to be like outside, outdoors, all day long. It doesn't have to be that powerful because they're so delicate. And then my biggest ingredient, my biggest supply that I think you would need to grow microgreens, and I can't say this enough, but I say it to all the kids and even the adults, is that you need to give it love. We literally sing, play high frequency music, or I play my sound bowls in our green room, and they absolutely love it. You can tell. We did an experiment where we were gone on a vacation and we had somebody else watering our plants, and guess what? They did not thrive at all. They were still getting water. They were still getting light because we have lights on timers, and they were still getting all the necessary things. But the one thing that they weren't getting was our energy, was our love. And I know it sounds woo-woo, but it's so true too. Yes. So optional items include like a spray bottle, which we water by hand every day. We don't have like a water filter or water system that is watering our greens. And then humidity. We have a dehumidifier. So it pulls out the moisture in the air. So it's a little different than a greenhouse. We call it the green room. Okay, moving on. Number 4 is, do microgreens need a lot of light? Well, I mean, I guess it depends on where you live or what time of year. I would say 12 hours is great, but are you going to get that all the time? Probably not. If you have an indoor lighting system, then even better. Then you can put it on a timer for that exact duration of time. But is it necessary? No. Is it like a want? Yes. So they can be grown under natural light or are using grow lights. We do not use LED. So we use like the condensate, gosh, I'm going to butcher that name, light exposure. Yes. So number 5, how frequently should microgreens be watered? Well, they should be kept moist, but not waterlogged. You don't want them soaked and saturated. That has a tendency for mold. So if you use a spray bottle, great. We have trays that you water underneath, and they have holes so that it soaks up through the roots, which is ideal because you don't want to top water your greens. When you top water your greens, they have a tendency to droop and just get top heavy and mold. So you definitely don't want to overwater, but you also don't want to underwater. And it's using your intuition. Once again, like intuitively, do you feel like the soil has moisture? Or do you feel like it's really dry? Like pretend you're the plant. Do you feel like it has enough water or not? Or is it dripping out? You don't want that either. So it's like a perfect sweet spot. And it's experimenting. You can't know this right away unless you play with your greens. Number 6, which growing medium works best for microgreens? I kind of went over this already because I explained it with the coconut core, but you can use potting soil. You can use hydroponic mats. We have experimented with those. We just found that we love cocoa core the best, and I gave the reasons before in the previous question. Number 7, how long does it take to grow microgreens? This is the best part. This is the best part. Literally 7 days. And that's for most of them. I mean, some of them take longer. If you do like some of the fancier varieties like cilantro, let's see, basil, cantaloupe, those ones are going to take longer. But 7 to 10 days maximum. And then there's a sweet spot for harvesting. Like I mentioned before, that you want to harvest it before the second true leaf appears. So if you're not ready to eat it, you harvest it, you throw it in the fridge, and it lasts another week or 2. So you can slowly extend the shelf life. But 7 days, you guys, from seed to harvest, like how exciting is that? And especially for kids, like when they get to see the growth literally overnight, it's exciting. Let's see. Number 8, can I grow microgreens indoors? Yes. Actually, it's preferred. Being outside in the external elements, we don't know, like we don't have temperature regulation. And also, I don't know what they're spraying in the air these days, like what's going on with the chemicals and the aluminum and blah, 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 etc. If you guys don't believe it, got some tough information for you. It's happening. So no, they don't like to be outside. They like to be indoors where the temperature is regulated and controlled, and you have a dehumidifier pulling out the moisture and also a fan circulating the air. So it's not stagnant. So there's, a couple things that go into this, but I'm telling you, you don't have to start with all that. That's the goal, right? Keep that goal in mind. Number 9, how do I prevent mold or fungus when growing microgreens? Well, that's what I said before with do not top water. Do not top water. You're going to top water, the moisture stays on the plant. Just like with gardening outside, you don't top water the plants because they get burned by the sun. So same concept, you don't want to top water because there's a tendency for mold and fungus. There's a little hack about this. So when microgreens sprout, and they germinate, you're going to see like little root hairs come out off of the stem. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, is that mold? A lot of the times it is not mold, it's root hairs. And the way you know the difference, I mean, you can Google a picture and see the difference. So with root hairs, if you spray it down with water, it's going to disappear. With mold, it's going to stay, and it looks like a little ball. And it's not the worst thing that happens with mold. Like if you see it happen, just remove that whole little section and you could still keep growing. It's not going to be the end of the world. Just remove it as fast as you can. Or harvest it right away. Like if it's ready to go, just be done with it and just, use the top if you notice just a little bit starting. Like you don't want it to be overgrown because that's pretty gross. But yeah, using a fan and having circulation in the room is going to help. Nothing like stagnant energy, including us. I feel like we're so similar to plants. Like we love the same things. We want food, sunlight, water, love. Oh, so let's get down to the very last question here. Gosh, I had a long list today and I feel like I just rapid fire, like let out the fire hose at you, right? Number 10. How do I harvest microgreens? So I have my favorite cutting knife. It's like a cutting shear knife, but you can also just use kitchen scissors. You can use any scissors. It really doesn't matter. It's what you like. But I have my favorite harvesting knife, and it just like it's a blade that just goes across right underneath. And you're like, let's just say this is the whole entire sprout of microgreens. This is the leaf. This is the root. I harvest it right in the middle. Maybe a little bit lower to get as far to the root as possible without getting dirt. You don't want dirt. for obvious reasons. It doesn't taste that great, but it is coconut. It doesn't taste like coconut. It's just the husk. So yes, harvest them right when the first true leaf appears, and you don't want to let it grow too tall because then it gets bitter and then they have a tendency to flop over and they're done. They're done. So that concludes my top 10 most asked frequent questions at farmers markets about microgreens. And I hope that's helpful. I know there's a ton more questions and I'll get to them on another chat. All right. Bye.